Nat, I have 6:30 over here. All right, I want to call to order the Planning Commission meeting. It's Thursday, April 14th at 6:30 PM. Please take roll call.
Sure. Albright,
Present.
Myers, Traxler,
Here.
and Tylen.
Here.
All other members have been excused, and we do have a quorum.
Okay. All right, I'm going to request a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
All right, and somebody second? Okay, good. All right, now I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from 3/10/22, the Plan Commission. Oh.
Sorry, I may not have put on the notes. We do need to take a vote on. approving
Oh,
the
I'm
agenda.
sorry.
So did I not, I may not have.
No, it
put that-
doesn't.
I did not put that on the cues. I
That's
apologize.
fine.
So we need a voice vote to approve the agenda.
Okay.
And same for the minutes. I apologize.
No, that's fine. All right, I'm learning trial by fire tonight, apparently. Okay, so should we start over with number 4, approve the agenda? I'd like to request a motion to
No,
approve
we
it.
have a motion and a second. All we need to do is a voice vote at
Okay.
this point.
All right,
So all those in,
all those in favor, just say aye.
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 Aye. All right.
motion carries. Thank you.
Okay. All right, approve the minutes. Now we need a motion to approve the minutes from March 10th, 2022 Plan Commission meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from 3/10/2022 for the Plan Commission meeting.
Second.
All right, and we need to take a vote on that. And
Favor.
all in favor,
Yep.
say aye.
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 All right. Citizen comments. Is there any citizens that wanted to make a comment?
I would like to note that if there are 2 public hearings tonight, so if you're here for a public hearing, you can comment during the public hearing, not during this section. This is more for, there's a
Okay.
comment in general. So,
Okay, so if they are here for a public hearing, then they can comment then. Is that what we want to do? Okay,
I believe so.
all right.
Yeah, that's pretty.
All right, number 7, unfinished business. We have no unfinished business.
Correct.
Okay, and so on to new business.
So item A is a public hearing regarding the request of Columbus Community Hospital, Inc. for a zoning amendment to parcel 11211, 1508.13 from RD Rural Development to B2 Highway Commercial.
All right, so Matt, I'm not super familiar with this. Obviously, this is my first meeting. Can you
Sure.
kind of give me the quick rundown of what this actually means?
So we have a zoning map amendment from the hospital. And once we open the public hearing, I'll give a staff report to kind of give an overview of the project. But any conditional use permit, any rezoning requires a public hearing at the Plan Commission.
Okay.
Or zoning text amendment also requires a public hearing at the Plan Commission before action.
Okay,
So this is the public hearing portion of the the zoning map amendment for Columbus Community Hospital.
okay.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing if that's required.
Yes, thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
I'll second it.
All right.
We vote on that, right?
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so now that the public hearing's open, I just want to give a brief overview on this project. This is more of an administrative function for the hospital. The hospital purchased, and Andy, I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm going to be talking about here shortly. The hospital, why is this freezing? The hospital recently purchased about a 10-acre parcel that is just to the south of their current facility. What they're trying to do is basically combine this parcel here, which is 150813, into their main parcel, which is parcel number 1192.1. However, the zoning are different on the two properties. So before they can go forward with the CSM to combine the two properties, they are required to change the zoning on one of the properties. Obviously, they're electing to change the zoning to match the zoning on their current parcel of 1192.1. Looking at the future land use plan and the designation of a B2, it is, the future land use map shows this as the gateway business area, which
Right.
B2 designation is aligned with that future land use plan. So I do not see anybody from the applicant here to speak tonight, but that's really the crux of their request, so.
Okay.
But it's already been allotted.
Correct, yes, so they went through a CSM, sorry, they created a CSM 3 years ago that was approved by this commission to purchase it from the landowner. And now they're going through the process to combine the parcels into one large parcel, so, or larger parcel.
Okay, so,
Is this for a future project or something? Do we?
Not that I'm aware of right now. I know in the past they had a variance for their lot coverage out there because they have more impervious than's permitted by code, and this is to help address that. At this point, I have not received any proposals from them for any sort of future projects. And obviously, any future project would have to go through whether it's a staff level or plan commission level type review.
Right. Okay, I just didn't know if there was more coming down the pipe. But...
Not that I'm, yeah.
Okay.
okay. All right, so we were at there are no people here to make a comment.
You do need to ask.
Yep, I know,
okay.
so I have to ask 3 times to make sure that we don't have anybody here that want to make public comment.
That's one.
I just want to know if anybody's here to make public comment on this. And then for the 3rd time, is there anybody here that wants to make comment on this? It looks like.
We call it Columbus Community Hospital, but it's Prairie Ridge Health.
What's being called is what the property name. So when you look at the ownership of the property, it's owned by Columbus Community Hospital, Inc. So that's why they're listed as the applicant in this case.
All right.
Okay. All right, is there any other does anybody have any other discussion or questions or?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So now we're on to B, which is review and make recommendation for the zoning map amendment.
Yep. Okay, so now we need to make and review a recommendation regarding the request of Columbus Community Hospital, Inc. for a rezoning map amendment for parcel number 11211-1508.13 from RD Rural Development to BD Highway Commercial. And is there any questions or comments in regards to this?
Yeah, I mean, staff's recommendation is to approve this. You don't have any red flags that,
No.
right, man? I don't see any either. I mean, this is pretty standard. You know, there's nothing tied to it. There's no project or anything that we need to be concerned about. So, in my opinion, I think this is a, fairly simple transactional, thing that we should approve without any question.
Okay. Do you two gentlemen agree? I do too. All right, I'll take a motion to approve this action.
It's a recommendation, right?
You move the recommendation, correct?
Okay, I'll take a motion to make this recommendation.
A second.
Wait, were you making a motion or were you just seeking a motion?
I was just seeking one.
Okay, so you're, is it okay
You
if
can
I
also make a motion.
I can? Good to know. All right, I'll keep that in mind. All right, so we have a motion then?
We have a motion
Yeah,
to
I'll give you credit
recommend
for the motion.
the approval.
All right,
Who's seconding?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. All right, all those in favor?
aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? No? All right. So this, you mind if I, sorry,
Go ahead.
I'll
Yeah,
interject right
you've
then.
been doing this more than I have.
So, item C is also related to this. This is review and make recommendation to council regarding, the application for a CSM, for the hospital. The CSM is included in their packet. As we indicated, essentially, this is taking, 150813 and 1192-1 and making it one, large parcel and basically dissolving the line in between the two. Staff has reviewed the CSM as far as requirements for ordinance, but also requirements by state statute. And at this point, we don't have any comments and we're recommending approval.
All right.
Yeah, so, my opinion on this one is kind of the same. I will admit that, the certified survey maps are always difficult to try to understand, especially for, the layperson, like myself. And Uriah is usually here to, walk us through these. But when I was, looking at it, everything looks, to me in order. But again, I'm certainly not the expert there. But I think it's still good enough. I mean, I think it's good to approve.
Okay.
That wasn't the motion, that was just a comment.
All right. All right, do you, either one of you have anything to say?
So my understanding is we just approved the rezoning, or we recommended the rezoning.
Correct.
And now it's about dissolving the lot line and becoming one.
That is correct. So now we're making a recommendation regarding the CSM, and the CSM in effect is combining the two lots into one.
All right, so then I'm seeking a motion for this recommendation.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right. All right, so now we're on D and we're going back into a public hearing. We want to review a request for Hannah Thomas for conditional use permit to allow a bed and breakfast for parcel number 11211-267 located at 428 South Bertie Street.
All right.
I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to go into, open a public hearing.
I'll second.
All right.
Wait, was it?
I'll second,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's good.
You guys kind of sound the same if I got my head down.
Okay, so I want to ask if there's anybody here that wants to speak in public comment.
Can I give a brief overview of this?
Sure.
First? As you can see in your packet, so basically this is an Airbnb proposal, so it's a short-term rental. To be honest, our code, since Airbnb's become a thing in the last 5 years, our code probably is maybe outdated, and there's two areas of the code where, looking at it, my interpretation of items that apply to this. One is calling it a bed and breakfast. Clearly, our code states any sort of bed and breakfast in a residential neighborhood has to go through a conditional use process. The other thing is because it's incidental and it's a business, it should also be treated as a home occupation. And I've had a conversation with our city attorney on, well, which bucket does it fit in? And so we're kind of going through the same process because both require conditional use. Looking through the proposal, one of the things that stuck out to me is she indicated that she's got a 3-bedroom home and she would like to, or the applicant would like to rent 2 of the rooms. And when I'm looking, the one issue that has stuck out to me at least is the parking. When you look at her property, or the applicant's property, right now, a single-family home is required to have 2 garage spaces and 1 additional space that's off-street. On top of that, for bed and breakfast, they're required to have 1 space per room or suite that's rented, and then 1 for the owner as well. So when you look at it, in the proposal, the applicant has indicated she lives at the property alone, so in theory, she would only have 1 car, and then you'd have 1 stall per suite. In her proposal, she details that, essentially, that she does not have the space for both to park in her driveway, which I do foresee as an issue, because going through, once again, by code, under home occupation, you're not allowed to have any parking in the right of way as part of your home occupation. So if she's generating traffic that has to park on the street, that is something that does not meet the standards that's currently in our code. So that is a potential issue that I see with that. Also, when you look at the requirements under 114, 130, which talks about parking in a residential area, under 113, 131A, anything that's parking in the front yard needs to be parked on a paved area. And when you review her proposal, one of the items in her proposal said that basically one of the stalls would be half parked on the grass and half parked on the driveway pad. So that's why I added the figure 1 in your packet. It was raining. I was going to go take a picture, but it wasn't going to be good. And I figured the screenshot from Google worked just as well. But you can see, and you actually can see with probably the previous owner to the applicant, where they have their car parked there and they have their boat parked there, and their boat's half on the grass and half on the cement. So that's an issue that I see with this application. It's going to be difficult for them to meet code. There's also, maybe there's an alternative where it's not 2 units, maybe she's only doing 1 at a time and limited in that fashion. I mean, that is certainly something this board could do with a conditional use permit. That was in my review, as I said, the parking was the big issue that came up. And as I said, reviewing those different factors that impact this, those are my concerns. So.
Hey, Matt, can I have what's the definition of home occupation?
It's defined as anything that's incidental to the use as a single-family home. So I mean, so basically this wouldn't be here, it's a single-family home first, and then any other business use that's incidental to that is considered a home occupation. So it's very vague, so it's open to interpretation. But as I said, talking with Paul, if it wasn't a single-family home, the Airbnb couldn't be there. So that's kind of where we thought it kind of fit in both areas.
Could the homeowner park on the street and then for their own personal vehicles and then use the spaces then? She's got, looks like a garage space and a place for a driveway, behind it.
That is a good question. And I would think technically that would meet code, yes.
I do have a comment though about that. So from November through March, April, there is no street parking. So, I mean,
during
within
snow
Clement,
That's not true.
within
During
Clement
snow,
weather.
I thought that was only during snow
During
emergencies.
snow emergencies, yes.
Right. But
So they could move to a public lot.
and that's true.
Nowhere near it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be difficult. I
No,
just want to make sure that we're considering
No.
all aspects of.
No, that is a good point. At this point, I'm ready if we want to go
Okay,
to the
so,
public.
yeah, so,
And because this group will still have time for Q&A after after the public hearing's over.
Okay.
Okay.
So we want to have the resident to speak, right?
So yeah, we'd ask anybody to come up.
Okay.
There's a sign-in sheet up there. We'd ask them to put down their name, and I did ask for email, but if you don't want to give
Okay.
it, that's fine. But
All right.
I do need name and address, and you need to say it, and also we need it said into the
Okay.
microphone.
All right, if there's anybody here that would like to make public comment in regards to this, please do so. And please add your name and address for Matt.
My name is William Herbold. I live at 439 South Lewis Street. I abut Miss Thomas's property in the rear. My concerns are, one, parking, which is no huge deal, can be looked at from a number of different ways. But you're also asking to put a motel, hotel type of thing in the middle of a residential neighborhood, all single-family homes. Can you please pull up the property line?
Yeah, it's right.
It's a very unique piece of property in the fact that it's a flagpole lot. And in dealing with city administrators over the last 20 years here, my understanding is there's less than a dozen of them in town. Most of the flagpole lots, the house sits on the flag, the pole is the lot. This particular lot is very unique in that the pole is approximately 10 to 12 feet wide and 50 feet long, that abuts 5 backyards. It's essentially a useless backyard. The deck on the back of the house is built 8 to 12 inches off of the property line, so there is no property off of the back deck, and just directly behind the garage. Can we see that map, please?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to kind of show the lines there. There you go.
Zooming in, okay.
Yep. Oh,
So, here,
so that flagpole part there is essentially good for a laundry line and a raised flower bed. It's really, really tiny. I'm at the very end of that flagpole, meaning I have the 10, 12 feet behind my garage that goes to Mrs. Thomas's property. And to be frank, in all honesty, I'm afraid that's going to become a problem back there. It's not fenced in, it's wide open. That's my concern. You're going to be getting money to the coffers for the city from the Airbnb, so essentially you're kind of looking motel, hotel thing in a residential property. And again, my biggest deal is I just don't think that's a good piece of property for that. I'm not against an Airbnb, that's not an issue. I just think it's a bad fit. Of all 9 properties on that block, that's the one piece that just doesn't quite fit very well. So that's my comments to you guys. And again, there's a number of other things you can discuss and talk about and make your recommendation to the council. But that's my concern as a citizen abutting to that property. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, is there
Matt,
any?
does the city retain any room tax dollars for Airbnbs?
Yes, I believe Airbnbs is one of the, yes, we would receive room tax dollars from that.
Does the applicant address that in their application? Like how's the city and the resident gonna work that out?
Well, typically, when it comes to the, like the third-party kind of vendor kind of things where they're booking it online, usually it comes from Airbnb. That's what the check comes from to the city.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that she would have to do anything. I think it's Airbnb. If that's the only place she's gonna exclusively do it. So.
Okay, so we can, is there anybody else that wanted to make public comment on this?
Hello, my name's Hannah Thomas. What was that?
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So I wanted to share a little bit more about my idea behind the Airbnb. My intention is to more just host people like travel nurses or people that want to stay a little bit longer term, and so would have at least a 2-night minimum. During the winter season, I did consider the issue with parking during an emergency snow. And so in that situation, I would move my car to a different location, and then the guests would be able to park in my garage and in my driveway. Also, considering Airbnb, a lot of people don't travel in during the winter time, so it won't be used as often in the winter anyways. I can also put restrictions on what days people can request to stay at the house, and so that can also be controlled. If I see that there's going to be a storm coming in, things like that, I can also just block those dates off. I also intend to have a quiet time from 10 p.m. until 8 a.m. And so in the Airbnb description, I can list that there's no parties, no smoking, and so that's going to be part of it. I intend for it to be a quiet place for people to come and rest and be able to have a place to stay. And so I can also filter out anyone that looks like they have bad intentions in the home. There isn't much of a yard, so people are welcome to use my back deck, but I don't anticipate people using the outside space beyond that. Beyond that, I just would love to be able to host people, and so that is kind of my goal and mission behind opening this.
Okay. I have a couple questions, Matt.
Yeah.
I can assume I can ask questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
It being that she's the applicant, she can also speak when we're in the
Okay.
deliberation
Okay,
portion.
all right, that's fine. All right, why don't we do that? Is there anybody else that wants to make comment in regards to this?
My name is Ruth Skalitsky, and I live across from Hannah, 435 South Bursey Street. And my only concern is parking related. It's a busy street, especially during school hours, and the street isn't that wide. And my previous neighbors had several vehicles, and it was always difficult for me to get in and out of my driveway. And that's my only concern. I'm a retired nurse, and there's always need for travel nurses at the hospital. And they need, a situation like Hannah could provide would be great, I think. But and I would prefer not to have anyone park in front of my personal space, too. So that's all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else that wanted to speak on this during the public meeting?
My name is Bob Ross. I live right next door to Hannah. And I can see her point of view, but it says on this piece of paper that you guys have written up, Hannah Thomas for conditional use of permit at 428 South Bursey Street for the home occupation of under section 114-106. Details for the application are on file and can be requested by email from Mike. Now, the side of my house to the side of her garage is no more than 10 foot, if it's that much. Now, a bed and breakfast is going to require certain plumbing things to be applied to this property because the property isn't fully up to code. Now, another thing about the house, it's as old as our house, if not older. But There's no air conditioning in that house whatsoever. What person in their right mind is gonna wanna use a B&B that doesn't even have air conditioning? Granted, you can put them in all the windows, but she's gonna create an electric bill for herself that she just won't know what to do with. All I would like to be known is, be done is, please inform me as to your conclusions or where you're gonna go with this thing. If need be, I'll get legal representation in here. But I'm not gonna roll over and play dead on this project.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Ma'am, did you want to speak too?
No, I'm just intrigued him.
All right, is there anybody else that wants to speak? Doesn't look like it, so I can take a motion to close the meeting. All right.
I think you've asked 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't see anybody else that's,
Yeah, no,
that's
I
raising
don't
their
see
hands.
anybody else either. All right. I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All right, Matt. I do have questions though for the applicant.
Wait, Andy seconded, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And did we vote? All those?
All say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. So now we're on the last item, which is to review and make recommendation regarding.
Okay. All right. I have some questions for the applicant, please. All right, Hannah, so I have a couple questions. So one, the picture does show that you have a garage, but it's the doors down. Is there space available for you to park?
In the
Your
garage?
vehicle?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're calling this Airbnb, and I've heard Airbnb and I've heard bed and breakfast. Those to mean 2 different things to me.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, it's actually an Airbnb. I won't be serving breakfast or serving food at all. So it's just hosting people for the night or for an extended time.
okay.
Can I,
Yep.
just the bed and breakfast term is just kind of how she fits into the zone, or how her application fits into the zoning portion of it. So that's why the term bed and breakfast is being used.
Okay.
So trying to classify what this is, I just want to make
Right.
that clarification.
So, okay, so it'd be an Airbnb, because you're not gonna be, so it's gonna be an occupied Airbnb. And so, in theory, I mean, you definitely have parking in your garage. You definitely have parking by the steps. I know parking cannot be counted for the apron, right? We can't count that as a parking space.
You can't block the sidewalk.
Okay, so you realistically have 2 spaces unless you move to the street or you move to another, lot. If you
Yeah.
need.
Technically, the garage is a double, so you can technically fit 2 cars. It's not obviously really practical, but yeah, I was also curious with the idea of like having myself park on the street since I am the owner of the house, and then having guests park in the other spots. Would that be allowed?
So Matt, you didn't see that the garage was a double, or I would imagine it's back to back then?
It's a tandem,
So,
so one in front
yeah,
of the other.
well, yeah, so that's like this and this.
Correct. Yep.
So I guess my next question is, so have you done any kind of market research to see if there's a need for this in the city of Columbus?
Yeah, I did look. There's not many Airbnbs in this area. As soon as you go to Beaver Dam or you go to kind of Sun Prairie area, there is. I have looked at travel nurse sites, and within a 20-mile radius, there's like, even this week, it was like 900 and some people were looking for a place within 90 miles, or within 20 miles. And so I know that there's a need, and I don't know that there's a ton of Airbnbs right now within this area, but
So are you looking for vacationers, or are you looking for the registered nurse, the retired registered nurse, have somebody professional come and stay you know, maybe for a week at a time or whatever.
Yeah, I'm more looking at the travel nurse and then filtering them through Airbnb so that we can run a background check on the travel nurses, and then they typically stay for 3 months at a time. So I don't want a ton of turnaround. I'm looking more for the people that will be staying a little bit longer, can get to know them, and also with the travel nurse, it's nice to be able to run a background check on those people.
All right, those are all my questions. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have one for
Yeah,
Matt.
hey Matt, what's the difference between this and me putting an ad on Craigslist for a month-to-month rental for one of the rooms in my house? Other than there's a website that's helping people find it.
So the key here is on day 31, you stop being a short-term rental and it becomes a tenant. And you become a landlord-tenant issue. So that's where, based on the proposal and the discussions I had with the applicant, some of the nurses staying 3 months, that would kind of kick them actually into a different category by code, rather than a short-term rental, which that's what the Airbnb is, their model is. It's as I said, short-term rental. It's less than 30 days. So if it's less than 30 days, you're not considered a tenant. You're a visitor. So.
Gotcha. And then, so the revelation that that's a tandem garage immediately eliminates the issue with parking, in my opinion. The comments about the backyard and no air conditioning in the house is irrelevant to this conversation. I actually, Columbus tends to fight change, and Columbus tends to like to stick in the olden times when it comes to progression, and this is actually a need in our city, and I would be in favor of this.
Thank you, Andy.
I have a question for Matthew. Sure. The gentleman back there brought the question of code. Is there a code, like for apartments, they have to have, is there a code for Airbnbs, or would they fall underneath bed and breakfast? Like, would our city inspector have to go in and make sure that it's safe for tenants?
There's two people I would need to double check with. One would be our building inspector, and one also would be our fire chief.
Okay.
Because with the public going in there, it does change it from a single-family home. Now that we're having this conversation, I have not any sort of clarification from either of them of what kind of inspections would be needed.
Okay, so for public safety, I'm going to go with
They
it this
wouldn't have
time.
enough. That would be enough for a sprinkler system. Usually, it's more than like 20 units. It's much bigger development rather than what is being proposed. That one I'm fairly confident of. So no, that's okay. It's a good thought, but yeah.
Am I allowed to make a comment?
Yep.
I have talked with an inspector, and he asked that I put a smoke detector in each floor, or in each room, and then fire extinguisher on each floor.
A fire inspector or a building inspector?
I think that was a building inspector,
Okay.
not a fire. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so he fire alarm, and then a fire extinguisher. Did they say make any other suggestions?
That's all they
That's it.
said, and
Okay.
he said he can come and do a walkthrough and to get approval for that. So he said he could come next week if I need to do that.
Okay.
And then I also wanted to say, like, if the city would prefer that I do either longer term or short term, like if there's a preference between the two, I can obviously lean towards just doing the shorter term or just focusing on the longer term. I also think that if you do the shorter term, it's also inviting people into the city, and I can promote the different businesses and the restaurants and things like that in this town too. So I think it's also benefiting the city as well.
Okay, did anybody have any other questions?
So I believe the gentleman that spoke, the next door neighbor, Bob, I think his name was. Is that his house, this White House that's in the picture in our packet? Next to the garage?
Yeah, that's probably what you can see.
Your pointer is over his.
Yes, to the left.
It's probably his side porch would be my guess. It looks like he has a deck and porch that come out the side. Yeah, that's what you see.
Okay. So is there room to put an apron on the side of the driveway?
No, and by code, you have to stay 3 feet off the property line.
Okay.
So even if they wanted to maybe widen that driveway there to have another stall, it's probably tight. Now granted, she could certainly have somebody go out there, whether she had a survey or done or whatever to try to determine how much space there is. And that's definitely an option, but just eyeballing it and looking at it, and it seems awfully tight. But,
Yeah, it just looks like half the boat
It's like
trailer.
the trash can width you can see off of the lean-to. The garage is a converted lean-to, and her trash can sitting right next to it. That's like the property line right there. You can kind of see that.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
well, so and keep in mind, this GIS, this isn't as exact as a survey, so there is a little bit of margin of error here. So don't
I didn't have a survey for my fence.
No, yep, you do.
Let alone a survey
Yeah.
for a business.
So I am curious about having an inspector go through as a fire inspector, just for safety purposes. I would hate to, because I agree with Andy. I think this is probably a need that the city could use, and especially with healthcare. I know my daughter, she works on call, and she has to go into Madison. I don't even know how many, and stay at my brother-in-law's house. And, if she could, if there was this option was available, for other medical staff, it might be useful. And I can see why she would be targeting that group of people to come and stay. But I do think that it would, to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, that we make sure that the house is in good order and that it's safe to have strangers there.
Okay.
I mean, does that make sense
I agree
to
with
you?
you on that point as well.
You said you agree, Andy?
I think that, I agree with that, Shelley, but I also think the city needs to go back and take a look at their code and include this type of business.
Oh, absolutely.
Into that code, and so these are no-brainers in the future.
Yeah, I absolutely
You have
agree.
rules, and then including that inspection. Hey, there should be an inspection by our fire building inspector or fire chief,
Right.
whatever, to make sure it's safe. There's
Yep.
the appropriate.
Yeah, I absolutely
exits
agree.
And smoke detectors and lighting and all that.
Right, and railings, and make sure that, nobody's gonna trip and actually I do have one more question. So do you have multiple bathrooms then? Is there gonna,
There's 2 bathrooms, so yeah, the guests would be sharing the one. That is a common thing on Airbnb though. I've
Okay.
stayed at quite a few. So it will be listed on the site so people will know that they'd be sharing a bathroom.
all right.
And I think in the application you stated that you're going to still live there.
Correct. Yeah, that's
On
my,
occasion, you might rent out all 3 rooms,
right.
but for the most part,
Yeah,
you're just,
occasionally I might travel in the winter some to get out, but yeah, it's my home.
Right. So in this situation, if we need more information, do we want to table this until the next meeting?
So so you really probably have 2 options, depending on what the commission feels. You're right, you could table this. You could recommend approval contingent upon inspections. I think it's whatever this commission feels is the best course of action.
With tabling it.
I
I
think
mean,
that,
we'd have to take a temperature of the rest of the commission, but if the commission was in favor of of approving this, I would do it all, like just Matt said, on the condition of inspection. And I did like how Ms. Thomas, I've stayed in many of Airbnbs, and this is the most common Airbnb I've seen. So this isn't rocket science. It's, everything is mapped out. Everything is all set by Airbnb. There's, what she said about, she can set all the requirements. Quiet times at 9, no loud music, no parties after, no parties. And plus she lives on site. So this is, to me, this is pretty fair.
right. I agree.
So I would be in favor of moving it forward, for approval, contingent on inspection by our Now, Matt, I would ask if this would be contingent on our building inspector or our fire inspection.
I think both need to
I
inspect
agree.
it.
I would
Okay.
feel more comfortable, just to make sure that, everything's up to par, railings are the right height and, and all that. And just all that little stuff that's important for people's safety.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
Are there
pretty sure
requirements
you
for the
also
Airbnb?
have a lot of these checkboxes, taken care of before you can even become an Airbnb host.
Right.
Ms. Thomas probably could speak on that if she had more information, but I'm pretty
Right.
sure that there are several layers of protection
Right.
For the homeowner and for the guests, just on there through Airbnb alone.
Right, and so I'm assuming, one more question. So the second spaces that you want to rent out, is that upstairs or downstairs?
They're upstairs.
They are upstairs.
Yep.
So then that's something else that we're going to want to take in consideration, because that's obviously not ADA, probably not ADA. Because you'd have to have an elevator, right, or some kind of lift,
Yeah.
depending on the situation.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, but does ADA even apply though? I mean.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I'd have to look into that.
I don't know.
I'd say I would probably guess not.
Okay,
Being that the size, usually once you get over, it's kind of like the sprinklers. Once you're to a certain size, you need to provide these. This is a older house that's, so I
okay,
do
I'm just
not think
asking.
so, but that is a good question. I
No,
will add it to.
So,
And-
I have a duplex, and my duplex, the side that we rent out, is ADA compliant, because it's first level, no stairs to get
Yeah.
into the residence, 36-inch doors, it has bars in the bathroom, it's 100% ADA compliant. And so I think that's something that we just need to, and obviously if it's not, we want to designate that it's not, and that, people that come and stay with you,
Yeah, and
can't have an issue.
I was gonna say, on Airbnb, you can list on there that like you have to access it by stairs. So people that can't walk upstairs,
Right,
then
okay.
they wouldn't ask to stay there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna take a motion to table this until after we have inspection from the fire and,
I'm gonna make a motion to.
Okay.
So Matt, is this a recommendation to council?
It is a recommendation to council,
I'll
so,
make a motion to recommend approval of this, an Airbnb, item E here for approval to the council, with the conditions of it passes a fire inspection and building inspection. I don't think tabling is the answer.
okay.
I do, so.
So you're in favor?
I'll be in nay on that one.
Okay.
do we have a second?
Dan, do we have a second? We have somebody thinking.
So his recommendation is to
Is to.
recommend approval with the
Right,
inspection.
Contingent on inspections. And the other thing I'll note is, as part of this conditional use permit, the standards under 114-106, she will also have to meet, and those are defined by code. So, like it gets to the no guests or parking on the street, and those things will be included when it goes to council. But I mean, those aren't a condition of the conditional use permit. Those are the conditions of anything that's a home-based business slash, that has to be met. And as I said, when I reviewed those, the only one I really had concern with was item with the parking. And that seems to be somewhat resolved, so.
Okay. Okay.
I'll second the recommendation.
Okay. So,
To do a voice vote.
yeah, we want to do a voice vote.
All right. Myers,
Yay?
Traxler,
Aye.
Tylen,
Nay.
Albright,
I'm going to say nay. because I understand what everything that Andy said, but I would feel more comfortable if it comes back to the planning commission one more time, and that potentially we have more commissioners here that may have some kind of thought process that we're not thinking about.
Okay.
And and hopefully we can get this on to the next meeting right away in,
Would be,
May?
the next meeting would be May 12th.
okay,
So, but we don't have to have a public hearing at the next meeting.
okay.
Because we already hosted the public hearing. Well, technically, so I think we need a motion then to table since.
Okay, I wanna-
Or any other action, I guess I
Okay,
should
I'm gonna
say.
make a motion that we table this pending inspection from the fire and building inspection, and that have it come back to the planning commission one more time before it gets sent to council. Before it goes to council, I wanna make sure we have our ducks in a row.
I'll second that.
Question?
All right.
She motioned
Yeah.
a second to table
Yeah,
it. so-
Yep.
Is there a vote? You want a voice vote? Or do you want me to roll call?
Yeah, just do a roll call.
I meant to say roll call.
Just do a roll call.
All right,
Aye.
Kylan,
Aye.
Myers,
Aye.
Traxler.
Nope.
It passes 3-1.
Okay.
All right, so this will come back on May 12th.
Okay.
I did hear a question back there, is it,
You know, there's federal and state mandates on fire extinguishers.
And-
Seems like some-
okay, and
The answer carries over, Matt.
that will be handled by the fire chief and the fire inspector, so.
All right.
So what would have happened if it would have been 2-2 on the table and the recommendation?
We could have just made a motion to adjourn.
We could have made a motion to adjourn, I guess, without taking action, yeah.
Yeah.
Then table it.
That's a good question, I've never had that happen, Mike, so.
And I agree with everything with what Andy said. It's not that I don't disagree with him, I would prefer to have all our ducks in a row before it goes to council, just to make sure that we're all squared away.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and I'm a newbie here,
That's
so.
what my motion did, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Well,
The
and-
motion was to recommend to council pending approval from the fire inspector and building inspector. So it comes to council on a platter with all the, everything that would have been approved. Had not gone that way, then it wouldn't have been presented to council.
Right, I understand that, and I think I would feel more comfortable if, at the next meeting, if there's more commissioners here, that we can discuss it with more people.
But is the inspection going to happen between now and?
Well, that's something we'll have to coordinate with the applicant and try to make sure everything has been inspected properly. And chatting with the building inspector and what their role is on this, I don't know if he's done this in other communities or not. Since I've been here, this would be a first to have the building inspector, because, Airbnb. I suspect that there's probably other places out there that are renting rooms, but I do have to acknowledge that the applicant's actually taking the proper steps, which
Right.
as zoning administrator, I appreciate not having to go out after the fact and try to stop something that's not fun for anybody, so.
Right, and we do need to update that ordinance,
And
or
that's,
whatever.
and that is part of the zoning ordinance that is, at least there's a draft that's been presented to that's been given to the ordinance subcommittee that council has, that's met twice here in the last 2 months. I don't know when that full zoning code is going to get through, because there's a lot, it's a 280-page document, so there's a lot of parts to it, but that process has started, I can tell you that. And at some point, this plan commission is going to be also involved with that discussion as well, so.
Okay,
Are you gonna go back and let the AJ Whitney know they can't have an Airbnb? They have one.
Okay, yeah. Yes, they're on my list.
Okay.
you have a list?
Well, I was aware of that one, so.
Okay. we need to look into that then.
Yeah. So,
Okay. All right, I think I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right,
A second?
excellent.
All in favor?
all in favor?
I'll say aye.
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 Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, everyone. All right, and it is 7.